Hello, and welcome to the editorial. Our guest today is the School City of Hammond School Board President, Trustee Carlotta Blake King.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. So starting with our first question. What is the most frustrating experience you have had while serving on the school board?
That's a loaded question. The most frustrating experience I had, I believe it was when around 2019 or 2020, when we realized that we had received, there was a 70,000 Fs that was recorded for our elementary students. 70,000. I sat in my chair trembling, angry. How could this happen? And what added to the frustration was the superintendent decided, in order to fix this problem, that he would lower the grading scale. And I almost flipped out of my chair. I said, who does that? Who lowers a grading scale, to help achievement? You're actually allowing children to get a grade that they didn't deserve, and you give them a false sense of achievement. And I argued the point. We debated it, but I was outvoted 4-1 to lower the grading scale. So that was one of my most frustrating situations while serving on this board, because it wasn't a good fix and it didn't fix the problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you could change one thing about education in Hammond, what would that be?
If I could change something, sometimes I wish I had a bowl of like a fairy tale dust, and I can just throw it on you, and you would magically become that wonderful human being that would do right by children. And from my experience, of course, you all are young folks, and you have to listen to adults. What I'm finding in many situations, we have some folks in education that don't belong in education. I'll just put it that way. And when that happens, you suffer. Your education suffers. You don't get the proper tools and resources that you need, because the people are like, they're here, but they're not here. So that, I consider that a detriment in education.
What made you run for the school board in the first place?
Well, I ran in 2018. I have been extremely involved in the school district all of my adult life. Ever since my children were in school, I was in PTA. All the officers, I held all the offices in PTA, attended most or all the school board meetings. And I sort of took a vacation once my kids had graduated and the whole 9 yards. And then I was drawn back into the district because they were having some issues. And around 2014, there was a situation that we knew we had to do a referendum to raise money for the very new school that we have today. So I've been an advocate for young folks all my life in terms of education and bettering themselves. So that's basically, I just love kids and I want to see them do well. And that's what drove me to be a school board trustee, thinking that I could make a difference. But when you're at a board and you're being, battled, it's like 4 against 1, then it was 3 against 2, it's frustrating. But nonetheless, I did the best I can and continue to do.
You seem to be very accomplished. I understand that you're both the president of the school board and the founder of the Carlotta Blake King Performing Arts Center. How do you maintain a work-life balance between everything, all your responsibilities?
Well, currently I have retired from that. I retired from my school, my Performing Arts Center, and prior to that I had what we call Ultimate U. That was a dance and modeling thing. So I've always been involved with kids and helping them with their self-esteem and the whole 9 yards. Besides that, I'm a retired realtor. I did that for several years. That's a good field, good career, a lot of money. And I currently serve on the Hammond Public Library as a trustee as well. I serve on the Hammond branch of NAACP Executive Committee. I am a Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And that's one of my pride and joys, being a Delta. So, and then my church service. I do a lot of church service. So I keep busy, and I feel, believe it, you probably, I am currently 76 years old, and sometimes I think if I stop, I'll just drop dead. So I just keep moving.
Well, you kind of answered the next question. Do you have any other roles outside of being school board, that you think has helped you contribute to the community or anything?
Well, not so much a role, I think is my faith in God that keeps me motivated, keeps me driven. Of all the things I've ever done or accomplishment, the work I've done in church and my faith, it gives me the fortitude and the courage to keep going, regardless of the obstacles, regardless of what you're facing, how damaging it might look or how it just looks, it's not going to happen. It's my faith, and that's one of my most promising endeavors in life.
Do you think that's like your faith and like your fortitude? Do you think that's a big part for any role that anyone might have?
My faith in what?
Your fortitude, like, is that a skill that?
Well, it's faith is just what it is, faith in terms of, but it helps build your skill set. Without it, it doesn't give you the drive and the motivation to do some of the things you do. So yeah, it definitely helps you build on your skill set.
Yeah, thank you. You were very vocal in your disdain and how Superintendent Scott Miller managed the School City of Hammond funds. How did you react to the news of him being appointed as Mayor McDermott's chief of staff?
Now that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I have been reported in the newspaper, radio, all kinds of social media of my, not so much disdain, but disappointment in the performance of our former superintendent. Basically because he professed to be a man of the cloth. So how could the man of the cloth be given such an opportunity, funding, the best staff, the greatest kids in the world, and then just it becomes a colossal failure?
Yeah.
How does that happen? And then when you leave to another position without offering any accountability as to how School City of Hammond got in that rut, it's very discouraging. You leave one as though you had nothing to do with it, and you can leave without any apologies to our students. Because if you recall that at our last two graduations, he was booed. And the valedictorian from Morton High School addressed him personally and the board. And they said they felt the chaos with the financial strain and strait that the district was going to. And that young man literally turned around and looked at me and the other trustee sitting next to me and said, "You better fix it." Now I'm sitting there astounded, but I was glad that you young folks are so engaged that you know what's going on, that no one's pulling the wool over your eyes, that you know your education is in jeopardy when you don't have people that is serious enough to make sure your resources are there, the finances are there, the buildings are up to par, you have the right staff. So when he left, I just said, oh well. But he could have offered some kind of apology, other than saying, well, the board voted on everything I did. Well, you got what you want based on the information you provided.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think as of now the damage has at least headed in a direction where it can be fixed?
Anything can be fixed.
Yeah.
You just have to have the right mindset. People have to want to jump on board, and you can't expect people to jump on board immediately because they're hurt. They felt unvalued. That's why we lost so many tremendous teachers and educators and administrators and support staff, custodians, all the way down the line because they didn't feel valued. However, with what's happening now, we got basically a new board, a new superintendent. and she's doing a great job in networking with everybody. So if people see that you are serious and sincere, and you're not putting on a facade just for a show, I think it could be fixed. It's going to take time, though.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when Doo-Wop came and, you know, we were over that watch, that was humiliating. Humiliating. You had $63 million, and things got sort of went left. So
Okay.
that's my answer.
Well, that's all the time we have
Oh,
for now.
wow, that was
yeah,
wonderful.
it was very fast. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.